day, we have already moved beyond their sampling of the mood of that day that they're reacting to, because of what's going on within humanity. It's one of these um, learning episodes, right? So you got a classroom, you got 30 kids. All you have to really do is to, if you want to teach these kids math, for instance, come up with an interesting problem that gets them a little bit intrigued, and then find one kid in there that you can get to get it, all right? And then once he gets the answer, she gets the answer, they'll help someone else, and you can find another kid and put the extra effort into that other kid to have them get it. And then that kid gets it and they go on out. And so as you educate your people, you're also creating teachers for the next guy and so on. So it spreads extremely rapidly. This method of growing information into the social order is much more powerful than the mainstream media broadcasting it out, right? And because it's growing in an organic fashion and bubbling up, so to speak. And that's what they're running into now, is that we've crossed the threshold. There's more digital warriors than they can overcome with their censorship, and the rate of growth of our digital fighting class is faster now because it's starting to become combinoric. So there will be people that will watch this that will then go on to spread it to other people, et cetera, and we will get this further pressure on the now failing legacy media. And I don't ever watch any of it, so as far as I'm concerned, they're 100% dead, right? I see reports of it sometime on social stuff, and the number of reports that I'm seeing are also all negative now, and also diminishing. The number of times we have to talk about the legacy media is nowhere near as much as it was 6 months ago or the year before that. And it'll be virtually non-existent this time next year, as will many of these organizations.
Wow.
CNN Plus has failed. Now CNN will fail. These things won't necessarily fail as we understand it. So the corporation CNN may not cease to exist. What may happen is that they become so close to bankruptcy and are teetering that they become taken over and repurposed.
What's going to happen with the elections this fall? Are there, you talked about this big die-off and people being sick. Are people going to be awakened? You said that at some point with the whole vax thing, people are going to be awakened. Now I had Karen Kingston on, a medical analyst, a good one. And she says she found patents for 7 different spike proteins that, you thought you were being injected with a mRNA spike protein, and you were. That created spike proteins in your own body. But no, there's 7 separate licensed spike proteins. J&J said, well, we didn't use the mRNA technology, but why are they getting a licensed spike protein? Why is J&J getting that? And so what's going on? Are people going to be awakened that this was poison at some point soon?
Sure. We're actually starting to see that in Trump's language. And so I watch his speeches, I read the transcripts, because he does not speak lightly. So it may even seem like he's making a joke about something, but his words are very important in the overall scheme of what's going on. So I suspect that we're right now at the cusp of everybody pointing at the vaccines and labeling that this as murder, as poison, as deliberate death, and these kinds of things. Now, the response has to be, and will manifest as the big pharma coming on out and saying first, no, it's not true. And then they'll start saying, well, maybe a little bit of the damage stuff is true, but we didn't intend it. It was an accident, and then so on. And they'll keep that line. They'll keep fighting it, and then ultimately they'll start admitting that every bit of the damage is factual, but it was never their intent to cause that. They're not murderers. But at that point, you'll see that there will be a fairly large number of people that will have quit from the big pharma. They'll be under attack economically, the same way Twitter is, and these kind of things as we go forward to that. This had to be this way. We had to have this situation in order that the people might wake up, and absent them waking up, we don't have victory, right? This could not be a battle of secret societies versus secret society, and then the ultimate winner coming on out and taking over. In order that the SOC, the self-organizing collective, should be victorious, they needed to have all of the people behind them. And this is a long and slow process, but we've stepped over the threshold, and the process itself is now reinforcing itself, and the growth will be very rapid as we go forward. Each day bringing, it'll get up to the point where each day will double the amount of people that will be able to express this. We're not there yet. We're not to the doubling rate, but we're maybe within a year of it. And at that rate, it goes huge, very, very, very rapidly, like giant social trends, right?
The election, is the election fraud? I mean, it's obvious. I mean, you have to be a moron not to, I mean, come on. It's moronic.
No, you have to be part of it to support the idea that it was a free and fair election. You've got to be actively a part of the criminals.
So is that all going to come out? That's all going to get blown and fixed?
Yeah.
Explain.
Not fixed easily. Because we have all these legal issues that we've got to go through. But the World Economic Forum now is trying to get us back into the situation of 2020. They want us to allow for mail-in votes and allow everything that they can do to keep themselves in power. And their only method for doing that is to try and regen COVID. And it's not working now. We're not going to go back to the mask. We're not going to go back to mail-in voting. States like myself, in my state, Washington, we're 100% captured. We've got a World Economic Forum guy who's our governor, and they're all throughout our legislature and prosecuting attorneys. So we're still captured, and we'll be one of the last ones that will be freed here. But even our state, we're fighting back against all of these strange changes to the voting process. So now there are things that we can do that even with all of the legal engineering that they've done for vote fraud, the citizenry can take and swamp that by, on election day, simply insisting on voting in person, all right, and then taking a photo of you putting your vote in, and taking a photo of the people that you hand it to, and so on, so that you put them on this. We've got your picture, and then that's all you have to do, and then stand around and wait for the count. So if you've got every single one of the polling centers here and everything being swamped by people that are just simply not leaving, then it will be impossible to cheat. You will cause such chaos among the World Economic Forum cheating people that they will be thrown for a loop and won't do it anywhere near as well as they think that they will be able to. Now, in many states, we're collapsing the cheating mechanisms now before going forward, and it may collapse 100%. So there are some things going on now that may indeed cause the voting machine companies, the corporations, to be less than effective, like maybe even not able to operate in this coming election, right? So for instance, if there were a problem with information coming out such that we had to have blackouts on the part of the World Economic Forum, blacking out information, shutting down parts of the internet, maybe even shutting off electricity in certain parts of the U.S. in order for them to try and control information, that defeats the ability of the machines to connect to the internet and be smooth and do the theft. So, they're starting to compound their own errors by the situation that they're being forced into. And I don't know that will manifest. I'm thinking that there will be some level of dramatic information coming out in July and August that's going to change the overall situation through September and October. Because it'd be very easy for states to say, okay, no more mail-in voting, you got to go in person and so on, just as a practicality because maybe there's a breakdown in the U.S. postal system.
Do you think that that the Democrats, I have an idea just based on what I'm looking at, and I think the Democrats, the internal polling, the real polling, the ones they know are accurate, I think they're losing Democrats. I think Democrats are like looking at this going, okay, thought we were going to give some people some health insurance. This is well beyond what I wanted to do. I think Democrats are even on the border of the Democrats are in arms for the invasion. There's a lot of Democrats I think are leaving the party. Is that right? And if I'm wrong, then let me know. Do you think they're going to have a hard time holding on to Democrats? They're going to walk in and go, oh yeah, I'm going to vote Democrat, and they walk in and go Republican. I've had enough.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen?
I think if there were a fair and honest vote here, it would look like something out of the Soviet Union in the 60s, in the sense that we would have, 85% Republican, that kind of thing, vote. It would be massive in that level. And of course, from the outside, that looks really suspicious,
Well,
but
they have to
not when
cheat.
snap back against what we've been facing these last 40 years, right?
Well, they have to cheat then. I mean, if they're going to lose,
Oh yeah, oh,
they got to
can't.
cheat. Bigger than the
Yeah,
last time. Every time they cheat, they have to cheat. 2020 was bigger than 2016. Yeah,
right. Okay,
2022
so
is going to be bigger than 2020. 2024, I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how they're going to be able to cheat this much.
this is the thing, guys. So there's a level of fragility to the World Economic Forum's plans, even though they've captured my state to this huge level with all of these people being involved with them. I decided that, well, I'm going to go and screw with their minds. Okay, I'm going to tell these people exactly what's going on in a way that the legislators that they're never going to get from anybody else, because anybody in their team is going to. I've worked in government. They just you don't talk truth to power, and so that's what I decided to do. So I wrote these series. I think we're up to 17 or 18 little missives, in a few thousand words at most. And I pointed out that we've got devolution, that Biden regime is collapsing, that the COVID narrative is falling, that the money is dying, and that all these people are criminals, and the World Economic Forum is being labeled as a criminal organization, is being seen by the people, and that most of the people aren't going to put up with this stuff. Now, I did these with a very specific intent, and I did it in such a way that the individuals would read them, in the sense that I said, I'm doing this to warn you, to save your life, because things are so severe, you're not being told they're this severe, and that the population of Washington State, my state, is so teed off, so angry, so upset, and in a way that you'll never see because of the government filters between you and the people, and that one day we may rise up and just hang all of you guys in Washington, in Olympia here, because of sheer frustration, because you're just not paying attention to stuff. The point of me bringing this up is that there are those people in my state that think that these 18 letters over these past couple of months, sent out to every one of the legislators and every one of their assistants, has actually been a prompt to the huge number of them that have decided not to run again. That
Wow.
are actually quitting. We're up into the 20s, I think 24 or 25, that have actually decided they're not going to involve themselves in politics in the future. And I think it's because I've given them a slap across the face and said, wake up and look what's happening. And and so these people that are the support for the World Economic Forum, the troops, there's a middle group in there that has stuff at risk. Okay, Antifa doesn't have anything at risk. The people that are Antifa, right, or BLM. But there's a management class that has the $6 million mansions that they've stolen the money to buy, and they don't want to risk these kind of things. And so now they are really wising up that things are not as they're being told by the Democrats, who are in essence the World Economic Forum criminal gang. And so things are rapidly changing, and all you have to do to have a major effect is to change a mind, right? And so if you know somebody that's doing criminal acts, you do not even have to prosecute them. All you have to do is to point out to them that, and everybody else, that, hey, look, our governor is a member of this World Economic Forum. He does not deny it. He's got his biography on the World Economic Forum pages, and I can prove that the World Economic Forum is a criminal gang. And so all I have to do is to prove that into court, and I can file a RICO suit against this guy, a racketeering suit, corrupt organization suit. And if
Wow.
my suit is successful, then somebody can follow up behind me as a prosecutor and use that very same evidence to put them in jail.
Do you think people are? You think that? I mean, this is. I've never heard this explained quite this way, and that is the World Economic Forum is a criminal organization masquerading as some, ambivalent, some lovely,
NGO.
earth changing, earth helping human. No, they're just ripping people off. They're robbing people and killing people.
And killing people, right? They kill them in mass, and they also kill them individually. So in other words, Seth Rich, he was murdered by the World Economic Forum.
Yeah, that was the hack of the DNC server. It came out here was the DNC server hack.
Yeah.
It came out on a thumb drive or a external hard drive, whatever. And what's going to happen to the money? What should people be looking for with the money?
this is really a weird situation, okay? So first off, let's disabuse the idea that there's a GESARA, a NESARA, or a quantum financial system. There's not going to be anything that's going to come and save you. They're not going to give you millions of dollars to create humanitarian projects or anything like that. There's somebody trying to play you with those ideas. So we don't know what's going to happen to the money. We know that factually that the dollar, the FERN, the Federal Reserve note, is dying and will have to be replaced. What we, the people, decide to replace it with within our day-to-day trading will create the currency and create the economy. We need not have a financial system imposed on that economic activity. We need not have a central bank. We should not have a central bank because then we don't have the debts. Now, here is something though. Okay, so on the other side of this is that we have a national debt, but we also have a national credit. So the World Economic Forum, the criminal banks, the Rothschilds, the private criminal Western banks, the Federal Reserve, have accumulated vast quantities of riches at our expense. They've been bleeding the populations that they've been controlling all of this time and accumulating masses of wealth and in the form of gold, real estate, and this kind of thing. As they collapse, I'm of the opinion that we need to come up with a scheme to put all of that wealth back into the population. And I don't mean give it out to individuals like the GESARA and NESARA kind of a thing, right? That never works. That just creates a momentary blip of hyperinflation, all kinds of chaos, and it never succeeds in creating anything of value. But we could pay off the national debt, and I know an easy mechanism for doing that, and then take the national credit and rebuild the nation, okay? So, which would cause employment booms, it would cause wealth booms, it would cause the price of things to drop year after year after year, so to be able to buy more every year, even though you're only working the same amount or less. It would be truly a very glorious time because we would have sound money. There are approaches to getting us there. And the national credit, the other side of the national debt, we can, as the people, simply take because it is our credit that is hidden from us by the Western private central banks owned by the Rothschild Empire, which is the World Economic Forum.
Would you be holding on to, are we going to have a thing where your bank is closed someday, or bank holidays and things like that? Or would you be holding on to actual physical Federal Reserve notes? Because they're going
to be useful for some period of time, okay? So I've got one here that I just simply took a red ink pen and I wrote constitutional on it. Okay, we're going to have to come up with some form of a species, some form of a circulating currency, and we'll probably use gold, silver, coins, who knows. We'll certainly use Bitcoin and these kind of things, but for some period of time, the paper notes will still work, repurpose them. And then we're going to have to come up with a mechanism for a more sustainable, legal approach, which I think will go back to some form of a legal silver currency. Now, we may have to revalue that currency, and here's the situation. The legal definition of a dollar is 416 grains of standard silver, or like 371 grains of pure silver, something like that. If we were to put that much into a coin now, we might find that coin really nominally should be worth $20, even though it might be the size of a silver dime, just because of the value of silver. So I think we're going to end up going to, as the Russians have shown us and demonstrated, solid money based on resources. This is good for us. The United States is resource rich. Not as good as Russia, but then again, we don't have as much land mass as Russia. So, but we have a very a larger population and a smart population. If we can restart re-educating people and getting them away from Wokean into science and stuff, right? Yeah. Then we can do some things here and create. Yes. And it is the creation, the energy that is the
where I'm supposed to believe Bruce Jenner's a woman.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
Yeah. And also supposed
he
to
can believe whatever he wants, but you can't make me believe it.
But Yeah, and the Supreme Court woman saying that she doesn't know what a woman is, and she is one, right?
Yeah, right.
So we're actually, facing that. By the way, we're going to get a massive backlash and against the whole, the LGB thingy, right? All of that business. And so I personally would advise people that are within that group to understand that there's going to be a social order backlash that will be, in some cases, quite horrific, because the World Economic Forum has pushed the queering of society, the gender bending of society so far that they've run up against this revulsion deviancy barrier inside the majority population that will express itself and is already just now starting. And so we can get around that. We don't have to have the horrors of that, but there will be individual instances of it. So just sort of be advised.
At one point you said in one of the interviews that you don't know long term if the Democrat Party will even be around. Are you talking about there could be a backlash also against just the Democrat Party in general?